welcome back here to Hawk Talk here on 91.7 The Edge, WSUW Whitewater on this beautiful record-setting Tuesday. Felt like summer out there, guys, today. I don't know about you guys.
Oh, yeah, there's a lot of darties out. You can hear them.
Yeah, a lot of people just enjoying the warm weather out there for sure.
Playing all the Pumpers music.
People getting active. Love to see it.
Yeah, just this town really comes alive when it gets warm, and it's really fun to see always. I know that first day of kind of spring and March, I mean, I know it came a little early this year, but typically it's just a lot of fun to see everyone out and about doing things. You'll see people on the pickup basketball courts, some people just walking around having fun. You know, that's what it's all about. I mean, college is obviously for education first and foremost, but you got to live a little bit when you're here too. But with that, we're going to jump right into the show here today. Alex actually is going to lead our first topic here today, and we're going to talk about some shoes. Alex, take it away.
All right, so everybody here knows that the Jordan brand is one of the most iconic brands in all of fashion, pretty much, and very big push for the culture of the NBA. So I want to know what your guys' favorite Jordan shoes are. Chris, we'll start with you.
I think mine is a rather simple answer, actually. I've wanted these shoes ever since I was a little kid. I just didn't quite have the money for them. Probably any of the Jordan 4s. I really like the University Blue especially. I grew up kind of like I was obviously a Badger fan, but like my second team per se was North Carolina back in the day. I just always admired them a lot for the history and everything about them and just the colors and everything. So I feel like the Air Jordan 4 University Blue would probably be my pick for my favorite Jordan of all time.
No doubt. The 4s are definitely one of the more famous ones. I actually have a pair of 4s.
I was about to say, you wore them last weekend for WBA.
I did. I wore them with my suit. They matched pretty well, so I'll have to get another pair down the line. Michael, what's your favorite Jordan?
Okay, I just looked up some Jordan shoes recently, and the one that kind of sticks out to me the most is the Jordan New Retro low men's shoes, One Low.
Yeah, dude, ones are awesome. There's so many good colorways for the ones, and they're just such an iconic shoe.
Yeah, specifically I like the purple ones.
Yeah, the purple ones are nice. My buddy has a pair of those.
I've always been a fan of how the ones, number one, they obviously have a couple of different like sizes. They have the high top, the mid top, and the low top. And like they've always been able to just kind of continue to keep them relevant through the years. Like it's a pretty timeless design for the most part, and it goes well with pretty much any outfit.
I agree, and they just keep coming out with more colorways. I mean, they re-release like old ones too, but for the most part, they're pretty new. Creston, what's your favorite Jordan?
I'm between the Jordan 1 and the Jordan 3 white cements. I'm going to just say the Jordan 3 white cements so we can get some different takes here.
Fair enough. The 3s are cool.
I do like the white cement just because classic white shoes are always cool. You know, they match everything. But then I also like the that cement kind of pattern along the toe and the heel there.
They're definitely sick. Colin?
I'm going to have to go with the Jordan 1 for all the reasons you guys were hitting on. They go with anything. You can throw them on with a pair of shorts. You can throw them on with a pair of jeans, sweatpants, whatever you like. And just the constant colorways means that whatever kind of outfit you throw on, there's going to be a colorway of the Jordan 1 for it. I personally have the court purples and the turbo greens. Anytime I'm feeling like showing my school spirit, I'll throw on the court purples, you know.
Go Hawks. Go Warhawks, baby.
Go Warhawks. We'll get to them in a bit.
Just a classic shoe. Goes with anything. Very stylish. And like you wore your 4s with the suit, you can throw Jordan 1s on with the suit, and there's nothing wrong with that. Pretty trippy.
I would say the Jordan 1 is like
that before,
the glue guy of the Jordan brand.
Yeah.
I think you can use them for pretty much anything. Ironically, probably one of the last things I would use them for is working out, just because there's so much of a style shoe over
you don't want
productivity. I think it would be the word. Like
can't wear nice shoes. To
do not hoop in Jordan 1s.
Obviously,
it's kind of ironic because that's what they were made for. But
yeah.
They are very uncomfortable.
It's funny to think about that used to be the highest performing basketball shoe in like the 80s, the Jordan 1.
Yeah, baloney. Bunch of baloney.
It is baloney.
But it's just the designs are so timeless. You can just truly keep wearing them forever and ever pretty much.
Yeah, I know. Ryan, what's yours?
I would say like the Jordan 4. It's called the Red Thunder.
The Fire Reds?
Yeah, like the Fire Reds are like the Jordan 4 Fire Reds, I would say.
Yeah, for sure. I also had the Fire Reds on my list. I got a couple different pairs. For the ones, I have the Air Dior ones, obviously. those are just a relic that I don't think me nor any of us will ever get our hands on. They're sell for about 10 bands.
Well, yep, that's out the window for me then.
Right. I'd rather just
That's
a
more
little
than my
bit
net
golf
worth.
Just a little
simulator.
bit above my budget there.
Yeah, no, for sure.
You know,
That's
I'm
tuition.
swinging for the fences, but you know that's the 700-foot fence, not the regular one. That's the out of the park zone.
Like, I would say another shoe is like the Jordan 4 like Red Thunder.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
The all black with the red.
Yeah.
Yeah, those are sweet. I also had the Travis Scott ones with the backwards swoosh, just because.
Like you have those, or you have?
No,
them on your list?
I meant on my
was about
dude.
to
I
say,
wish.
dude, send me
Well,
like
you
10
don't know.
bands right now.
I might.
Mr. Beast.
Just that backwards swoosh was like the
Yeah.
first time we really saw that from a Nike shoe. So that's pretty iconic, and I feel like that really just took over and pushed the brand forward into a new direction. Once again, for the culture. But with that, we'll let Chris take this away for the rest of the episode.
And thank you, Alex. Our first real topic of today, obviously that was a great Warhawk thought to get us going a little bit today, but the first topic is going to revolve around the Whitewater women's basketball team, who unfortunately did not come up with the WEAC championship last week. They lost a tough game to UW Stout. In that game, they just really, honestly, their biggest struggle was just shooting. Stout deployed a fantastic game plan to stop both Casey Corallo and Aaliyah Grundall, and Whitewater just had a tough time getting anything going until it was too late in that game. Stout was able to come out with a 10-point win and then go up to Oshkosh and beat the other top team in the WEAC conference. So they made it in, and along with Whitewater and Oshkosh, they were the 3 teams from the WEAC conference. 3 out of 8 of them qualified for the tournament, and 2 of them are hosting, and those would be your Whitewater Warhawks and the Oshkosh Titans. Woo. Whitewater has 3 other teams in its little mini regional. On Friday night, they'll face off against Minnesota Morris, and before that game, the Milliken Big Blue and Willamette College will both face off as well to determine who moves on to the next round, and that game will take place the next day on Saturday and will be broadcasted live on UWW-TV for all 3 of those games. Guys, let's get our initial thoughts on this Warhawk women's team going into their matchup against the Minnesota Morris Cougars. Alex?
Well, obviously Whitewater's hosting the tournament, so they're going to have that catchall advantage, the home court advantage. They just recently lost their second game at home to Stout, like you were saying.
It's kind of ironic. I've been on the call for both of their home losses this year.
Well, don't.
Please stay off the call.
Stop
Yeah, so
calling games, Chris.
I might have to retire for the rest of the year, potentially.
Just get out of Wisconsin completely.
Are you calling again?
I will for sure be on Saturday. Friday is still up in the air. I'm not 100% sure yet.
I think I speak for the whole women's basketball team when I say.
Please save us.
Yeah, please.
I did call the 2 tournament games that they won last year, though, so.
That was last year.
Last year, I guess.
Maybe you're just a regular season guy.
But going back to Minnesota Morris, I just really want to touch on a little bit. They do have one common opponent with the Warhawks. They did play the UW River Falls earlier in the season. It was incredibly early. November 15th was actually the date. They lost by 10 points in that game. They only scored 37. It looked to just be a rough offensive game. Kind of for both teams. River Falls only shooting 26%. Minnesota Morris only shooting 27%. Guys, I mean, obviously this Warhawk offense is high flying. How are they going to try and respond? I guess, Ryan, I'll move on to you.
Yeah, I'm just looking. I think Minnesota Morris, did they win their conference?
They defeated UW Superior to get in. They won the UMAC conference, yes.
Yeah, I think in that game, I'm looking at some stats here. Maddie Grove with 18, and then she had 3 steals as well. So, I think for Morris, I think Whitewater has the overall better record, but they have the same conference record. So
I think if the Warhawks want to win this game, they're going to have to stop Maddie Grove for sure. She averages around 17 points per game on 47% shooting on the year. She's 6'0", but she listed as a guard, so that's going to be interesting to see how the Warhawks trying to play defensively against her.
Yeah, I think if Whitewater wants to win this game on Friday night, they have to shoot the ball much better and don't take threes shoot because remember last game they were 1 for 12 from 3 in the first quarter, so just like don't go out there and just shoot threes.
I think a lot of what the issue was in that game, because I was on the call for that game with Don Hernandez, and the issue was just they got great looks from outside because Stout just played a pack the paint mentality and dared Whitewater to beat him from the outside. Some days your team's just not on, and I think that's what happened to the Warhawks that day. Colin, anything to add?
Yeah, definitely a rough outing versus Stout in the WEAC tournament, but WEAC tournament, WEAC Schmurnament, we're going for gold. We're going for an NCAA D3 championship, and I think Whitewater has a great chance in this tournament. Minnesota Morris, yeah, they won their conference championship, but they were 17-10 overall, and not a super impressive team on paper looking at them. They shoot 24% from three and 42% from the field.
Whitewater, one of the better defensive teams from three on the season as well.
And, yeah, they got Maddie Grove, who's averaging 17 points a game, and also Claire Stark, who's averaging 10. But other than that, they have a pretty balanced scoring attack. It's those two and then everybody else. And Whitewater's got our two-headed dragon as well with Aaliyah Grundle and Casey Corallo, who will both be playing in this game. Also, Katie Hildebrandt will be out there. And I think, just get Aaliyah Grundle and Casey Corallo going, and they've got a good chance in this one. Obviously, Aaliyah had an off game versus Stout. We won't see that happen often.
Stout just did a great job in that game of just really packing the paint, not letting Aaliyah. Honestly, a lot of the time, she wasn't even able to get the ball. Like, they would try and force passes down, and she just couldn't get to it.
I believe they lost by 10 that game.
It was 69-59. The Warhawks do average around 70 points a game on the year, and they did not meet that. Casey shot 4 for 17 in that game and only 1 for 9 from beyond the arc.
Yeah, when you got your two star players throwing up duds and you only lose by 10, I think that says that's actually a good thing for your team, even though you lost, because they're not going to be that off every night, and I doubt we'll see them be that off again. So I think they've got a good chance going into this one.
Yeah, I think I'm going to have to agree with you. And then, Creston, you want to add anything else?
The things that I looked at for Morris were that they are averaging 17.6 turnovers per game, and they shoot 65% at the free throw line. And we know that Whitewater, some games, has a fouling problem. So I feel like shooting 65%, that fouling trouble might not get them in as much trouble in this game as it usually does.
Yeah, I mean, Aaliyah had some trouble in their last matchup against Stout with foul trouble. She had to sit out at times. She had 4 fouls in that game. One of them was towards the end, but a lot of the first half, she was only able to play 32 minutes, where in a game like that, you would expect her to play close to 40. Michael?
Well, yeah, just kind of add on to that. If they were in the WEAC tournament or in our conference, it's 17.6 turnovers. That'd be worse in the entire conference. And generally, I'd say they're a pretty aggressive team because again, not only that, sure they get a lot of turnovers, but they also force a lot of steals. They force at least 12 assists or 12 steals per game, which is absolutely remarkable. But they're just kind of a lot of steals, a lot of turnovers. They also get a lot of assists. They have a pretty balanced attack generally outside of Maddie Grove, and I'd say generally as long as we could just defend them inside, we should be fine because I don't see them as a threat from the 3-point line.
Yeah, they've really struggled this year. Even Maddie Grove is somewhat inconsistent from beyond the arc. They just Minnesota Morris, no disrespect towards them, but I don't see them as much of a challenge in the Warhawks title efforts. Also going back to the WEAC tournament, last year they were able to defeat UW-Eau Claire here, but the year before they actually lost to UW-Eau Claire, but went on their massive run to the NCAA championship that year, beating, I believe, some of the teams that we could potentially be facing along the way here. I think the Warhawks have faced off against Milliken, which is on the other half of the Division III. They're on the other half of this little mini regional that the Warhawks are in, and they have one of the best players in the country, and Elise Knudsen, and she averages over 25 points per game. Someone just jump in and tell me a little bit about her.
Yeah, I mean, when you're scoring 25 points a game in the collegiate level, you're a problem. I don't know how else to say it. Like a mini Doncic, I guess. That's just unstoppable. I mean, shutting her down is obviously going to be a problem. And you also can't double. Obviously, you're going to leave someone open. So I think just playing more zone rather than man helps slow her down, could maybe put them in a better position to win?
I think you could maybe deploy like a box and one type situation for those who have played basketball before and know what that is. It's basically you run like a 2-2 zone, but have like someone follow around their best player. And I would assume the Warhawks would probably send Maggie Troush out to deploy against her. One of the better defenders on the team, and she's an energy player, and she just kind of gets the team hyped up, and I think they really missed having her out on the court last Wednesday against Stout. She's also another offensive threat from beyond the arc, and she plays the game with a lot of swag. But going back to this Milliken team, I think they could be a problem. They're one of the highest scoring teams in the country. They average 84 points per game, give up 67, so it's probably, if we play against them, assuming they're going to beat Willamette, which I would say they're favored in that game most likely. They have 3 scorers that average around 15 points per game with Sophie Darden and Bailey Kaufman as well, averaging right around 15, and it's going to be really tough to stop them. Ryan, do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I just think just shoot the ball better for Whitewater, and I think Maggie Troush would be. I think she's a good defender, and then one of the best defense people on the team, and then just like you said, Milliken is.
Milliken, yeah.
Just like you said, Milliken has three girls that average 15 points a game, and so if Whitewater was to play Milliken, just play good defense and don't let them get easy shots.
I think that's honestly in a situation where they have just Elise Knudsen offensively, it's going to be I think it's more about containing her rather than stopping her, because if you devote all your time and energy to someone like that, it's going to mean that the rest of the team just kind of has a collective better day. But looking at this Milliken team as well, they have a couple common opponents from the Warhawks. They played Illinois Wesleyan, who the Warhawks beat on the road early in the season. They also played UW-Platteville. They beat Illinois Wesleyan, I believe, 3 times throughout the year, or 2 times, excuse me. They did lose to Carroll 3 different times throughout the year, including in the CCIW championship, 75-66, and the Warhawks were able to take down Carroll by 14 early in the season. They also were able to defeat UW-Platteville, so it should be a really good matchup if these 2 teams face off. Colin, any other thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, looking at this team, like everybody else has been saying, they could definitely be a challenge for this dominant women's Warhawks team. They shoot 37% from 3, which in women's D3 basketball is really good. I mean, Whitewater shoots 29, and that's, I would say, around average. They also shoot 48% from the field. So just definitely a really high-scoring team. And when you, like Alex said, you got somebody in college basketball averaging 26 points a game. That's insane. You rarely see that. And then they have 2 more players that average 15 points a game. So, but then after that, not a lot of scoring. They're a really top-heavy scoring team. And like we were saying about Knudsen, you can't really. It's like a LeBron or a Steph Curry or a Luka Doncic. You can't stop her. You just have to try and contain her. And I think if they can try and contain Bailey Kaufman and Sophie Darden and keep them to low-scoring games, you can't win a game with one person. So she's going to do her thing. You can try and contain that, but really try and stop Bailey Kaufman and Sophie Darden. And then Knudsen will be their only option. And like I said, you can't beat us with one person. So I think you got to put a clamp on their second and third best scorers to have a chance to win this one if they end up playing.
I think this Willamette team is going to have a real problem. I mean, they're averaging 65 a game, whereas Milliken hasn't. I mean, they've scored 65 below once.
I mean, Milliken's average scoring differential is 17 points.
Yeah. They're going to have an issue.
I think Willamette definitely has their work cut out for them, because I would say Milliken and Whitewater, I think Whitewater has a slight edge over them talent-wise, but looking at this Willamette team, their only common opponent with the Warhawks is Concordia, Wisconsin, who the Warhawks dispatched 79-33 early in the season. I was actually on the call for that game. It was, to put it lightly, it was a rout. The Warhawks just Concordia had no answers for the Warhawks outside attack, and this Wilmette team actually fell to Concordia at home 61-54. So if they were able to make it through this first round, you have to think that something's going right for them. They just, I don't think they have a ton going for them compared to some of the other teams in this tournament. Creston, any other thoughts?
Just going back to the Milliken team really quick. Like we were saying, they have a 17-point differential. But they also turn you over. They average, let's see, where is it? They turn their opponents over 21 times per game, and they get 11 steals per game. And so defensively, this team is just menacing, and then obviously you have the scores. So this is just a good all-around team, and I think if Whitewater and Milliken face off, it would be a very physical, but it could go either way, whether it's low-scoring or high-scoring, depending on how the defense plays that game.
I think that game would be a lot of fun to watch for a bystander for sure. Michael?
Yeah, I would agree. Generally, Milliken should win. I mean, one other thing I think was interesting, though, like, Willamette is coming here all the way from Oregon. And just to think, like, they're having to come here all the way to Wisconsin, I think it's probably one of the longest travels of anyone in the entire bracket, I would assume.
You have to wonder how the jet lag is going to be for them coming all the way over here to Wisconsin. I mean, Oregon to Wisconsin is no light trip. I know the Warhawks had to go all the way out to, I think it was Connecticut last year for the Sweet 16, and I think you could kind of see the fatigue a little bit from the long flight all the way out there, and they were unable to come out with the win, unfortunately, in that game. But I guess before we finish up really quick, I just want everyone's prediction of who we think comes out of this little mini regional and moves on to the Sweet 16. Alex, I'll start with you.
I think everybody's answer is pretty much going to be the same thing. I'm going with the Warhawks.
Ryan?
Yeah, I went with the Warhawks. I think they'll beat Milliken.
I think that's going to be a really good game, though, when it comes down to it. I think the home crowd is definitely going to be a huge factor in that game.
Wait, so, like, if let's say Whitewater wins and Milliken wins, the game would be at here?
All three of the games take place here. And then after that, they'll redo the host location depending on what happens in the first two rounds. Colin?
Yeah, definitely going to be a good game, and I see that as it should end up happening, that game. Both Whitewater and Milliken kind of have inferior opponents. You say that now, but obviously anything can happen. But if they do end up facing off, going to be a great game. Could go either way, but I got to be a homer, and the game's at Catchell, so I'm going to take Whitewater.
I'm going to go with Whitewater as well, but I think something to watch if those two teams play is how much the winning team will have after they play each other.
Yeah, that's definitely going to be a great game, like I've mentioned countless times already. I mean, it goes without saying for both of these offenses that they're both capable of great things. Michael?
Yeah, I think the Warhawks are going to get first place. I think, Milliken, they play in a worse conference, and generally some of the loss that they have kind of concern me a bit. Again, losing to Carroll twice. And
Carroll is a good team this year, though. Sorry to butt in, but...
I mean, they also lost to North Central College, too, and they're not as good.
But you could also make the same argument for the Warhawks losing to UW La Crosse, who's not exactly a top team in the WEAC either.
Yeah, I don't know. But generally, that's just what I think is going to happen. I just think we'll have the home court advantage.
Yeah, I almost want to go against us just because I feel like I'm an announcer's jinx sometimes, but I'm going to pick the Warhawks as well. I think the crowd at Catchell usually gets pretty rowdy in a game like this, and that'll definitely help the Warhawks get through. And if you're unable to make it to those games, obviously the best way to watch it is in person. They will be broadcasted live on UWW-TV on Friday and Saturday night both, so make sure to tune in there, or on 91.7 The Edge here. I will most likely be on the call Friday night, knock on wood, of course, but Saturday night we will be broadcasting if the Warhawks win as well. But we're going to move into our next topic now, which is going to be called Slippery Slope. And as usual, the NBA Western Conference is about as tight as you can possibly make it. From seeds 5 all the way down to 10 are only separated by 4 games. Guys, what do you guys think is going to happen down the stretch? Also, not to mention the top 4 are only separated by 2.5 as well. Michael, I'll start with you. What are some bold predictions for the rest of the season in the Western Conference?
Honestly, I don't think anything too crazy, but I do think that let's think. I think that the Lakers are going to end up in 10th. I think that the Warriors are going to go up and get 9th. And the Mavericks are going to get the 5th seed. I think they're going to jump up, and they're going to get past the Suns.
Yeah, the West is just so deep this year. I think a lot of you guys can agree with me on this. There's just so many teams that you could make a case for them being in the top 6 spots. Like, even looking down at 10, it's the Warriors. Like, they've been super hot lately, and they could very easily make a run. I know Clay's been playing a little better off the bench so far. Creston?
Yeah, the 2 teams that I looked at were the Suns. They have the 2nd hardest schedule remaining, and I just think that the lack of depth that they have there is going to be a problem. And then I also looked at the Pelicans. They are, out of the 6 teams that we're talking about here, they're the least, or they have the best defense out of those 6. They have 7th best defense in the league. I believe they have the 9th hardest schedule remaining. I mean, they have the talent. They have 6 players scoring over 10 points, 3 players over 18, 4 players averaging over a steal per game. And I just feel like defense, obviously, in the playoffs is going to be more important than scoring.
Yeah, the Pelicans, I believe they were in the 1 seed, actually, before Zion Williamson went down last year, and it kind of fell apart a little bit for them. But this year, knock on wood, of course, Zion stayed healthy for them up to this point, and he's been a huge factor to why they're above 500 this year, because I know last year they kind of hurt without him. Colin?
Yeah, I think the Kings could be scary. Obviously, we saw them get the 3 seed last year. It fell to the Warriors in the first round, but it's a good young team. Sabonis is like a mini Jokic, and De'Aaron Fox is unstoppable at times on offense. So if they get going, this team, I could definitely see them making a jump. And I see the Warriors honestly staying where they are, maybe moving up to the 9th or 8th seed. But I just think the age and the fact that Klay Thompson has been playing good, but it's been so much on Curry to really win this team games, and he's had to carry. And
I think Brandon Pajemski is really starting to emerge as a rookie right now. I know Lester Quinones is playing okay. Draymond being back in is helping them out a little bit as well. But like you said, age is definitely a factor here.
Yeah, and they've definitely got some bright spots, like Brandon, I don't know how to say his last name.
Pajemski.
Pajemski.
My friends and I call him the Tide Pod.
All right, yeah. The Tide Pod's been playing great lately. That's why they gave him the starting nod over Klay Thompson.
Don't know how we came up with it. We just started calling
just random?
him that. Pretty much.
Yeah, and I also think the Lakers are trending up. Since they were 23-25, I believe they are 8-3 in their last 11 games. And ever since the couple weeks before the trade deadline, D'Angelo Russell has been averaging about 20 points a game. And they're playing right now without Jared Vanderbilt and Christian Wood. Jared Vanderbilt, their best perimeter defender. So that's going to be big when he comes back, as well as Christian Wood. I know I called him soft on last Thursday's show, and I still believe that, but he does give some extra offense to the Lakers. And I think the Suns, obviously a tough schedule coming up, but I think they're kind of starting to get into a groove. Grayson Allen's been going off. Bol has had some good games lately, and then you have Kevin Durant, Bradley Beal, and Devin Booker when they're all healthy. It kind of feels like Kevin Durant has had a lot of these teams lately where, like, the potential is there with, like, the Nets, but you just have to see how injuries play out and other circumstances. But I think the Suns could make a jump, and I think the top 4 is going to remain the same. You got the Clippers, Denver, OKC, and Timberwolves. Those are the teams that shouldn't be worried right now. It's the 5 through 10 that need to make a jump.
I did want to bring up, after we're done discussing the 5 through 10 debate, whether one of these 5 through 10 teams, because I feel like one of them is going to definitely get like scorching hot towards the end of the year. Whether one of them, because I know the Clippers have had a really tough stretch lately, like whether they could potentially jump all the way up there. Ryan?
Yeah, I'm going to say Phoenix or Golden State will get hot I'm going to say this month.
I think the big thing with Golden State is, though, it's like their depth just isn't great. Like, they don't have a ton of big man depth at all. It's Trace Jackson Davis has been solid this year, but like Kevon Looney's not really played that well.
I know, as I said, I think the Warriors just needed to get another center at the trade deadline.
I think that's kind of been the question for them for years now.
Yeah.
Like, if I don't want to say that I want this to happen, but if Giannis went to the Warriors, that would be unstoppable again. Like, they'd be right back and firmly in the championship favorites pool.
That.
I wouldn't.
I would hate that.
Yeah, so.
Alex, I know you're a big Lakers guy. How are we feeling?
I mean, they're 8-3 in their last 11, like Colin said. But every game I watch, they just look soft and lazy. Somehow they pull out wins though. I think I just saw they were 20-9 at home.
They're pretty good at home.
That is
As
true.
long
They're
as they
11-9 away from home, though.
Yeah, as long as they avoid away games, we're fine.
On the road,
Just
they're
don't
11
play
and
'em.
19.
Yeah, don't play them.
But no, that Suns game, I watched the whole game. They
Soft.
definitely looked like they
Lazy,
just
dude.
weren't trying. And it's
So
like,
lazy.
I mean, you could say that LeBron's been in the game for so long he doesn't care about the regular season anymore, but you got to get to the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, like,
There's no point of saving your energy for the playoffs if you don't make it.
You
I mean,
can't even talk about age though, because he's out there and it's like 27-7-8, and it's like,
Yeah,
dude,
yeah.
how are you guys bad?
Just-
You have the defensive.
there's a
presence.
lot of talent
You-
on that team. I had them
Yes.
as a like legit dark horse contender this year going
I mean,
into
after
the
they
season.
made it to the Western Conference Finals, I think that was a fine thing to say. But
and they
now
only
they've
added
looking-
depth.
yeah,
from
I mean,
there,
they
so
didn't
I
get
don't-
any worse in the offseason.
Yeah, I mean,
I think a lot of that falls on Darvin Ham, though,
Well,
too,
yeah,
as well.
they
He's
get
just too lackadaisical with
I
everything.
don't think they got anyone at the traded or got anyone at the deadline.
They stood pat at the deadline this year. I really
They got
thought that they were
Spencer
going to.
Dinwiddie.
they gave D'Lo
I
like
do-
2 last games and he went crazy, and they
Yeah.
were like, all right, I guess we'll keep him around.
D'Lo had been playing pretty well, though, for the better part of that month.
On my
actually.
fantasy team, I loved every second of it. But I think the Lakers could jump up to 7. I mean, I know they're better than the Pelicans, so I'm even going to say 6th. Zion. He's only getting bigger. I don't think he's going to remain healthy.
I think if
throughout the
Zion
season.
leaves New Orleans, he might have a renaissance just because that gumbo won't be there for him
He
anymore.
needs to get away. Too much temptation down
New
there.
Orleans, well,
The gumbo.
What were you saying, Ryan?
I think New Orleans would probably be like 5 or 6.
I think that that's a fair spot for them. I think CJ McCollum is also a really solid player. I'm really high on CJ, and then obviously Brandon Ingram's a solid player. Valanciunas, he's decent too. I mean, he's not like a superstar or anything,
I just
but
don't
he'll
think
get it done.
Zion right now is the superstar we expected him to be, and even though he has been healthy, he's been putting up good numbers. Not
Not what
number
we.
one option on a
Was
championship
he an
team.
all-star
guy.
this year?
No, he was
No.
not.
Yeah. Well, exactly.
He was not even. There's been regression from where he was at last year too. Like last
Yeah.
year, he's putting up 26,
Yeah, like you
27.
said,
This
they
year, he's
were
at like
the-
21.
They were the first seed, and so that's why you can say that you're high on this team is because we've seen that when they're all healthy and they're all clicking, this can be a good team. But even though they are pretty healthy right now, they're just not playing at their greatest. So something would have to change for them to jump that high, I think.
I know, Alex. I didn't quite let you finish about the Lakers.
No, you're good. I was gonna say I don't think they'll jump past the Suns, but we'll see. I see you shaking your head, Colin.
I agree with you.
Yeah, I mean it's tough. It's tough out here. But I think the Mavs could also jump up a couple spots.
I think you could make a legitimate case for any of these teams.
Luka's
true.
just having a 2K season. Like absolute 2K season. He's averaging 34 points, 10 assists, and 9 rebounds. And he's got Kyrie right by his side, who's also been putting up 25 plus a game, couple assists, and just adding depth and a good
They also
shot.
made a great move at the
Yeah.
deadline, I thought, for PJ Washington as well. And Derek Lively's been playing really good this year, too, as well.
Right, so I mean, they're also better than the Kings and Pelicans, so I think they're going to land 6th or 7th.
Ryan?
Well, I just looked up. It says the Suns have the most challenging remaining schedule.
That's something to look out for sure. I think Creston brought that up earlier, actually.
Yeah.
But, Creston, do you have any thoughts about what we've discussed so far?
Something I will say is that the Warriors have the 5th easiest schedule remaining
In the entire league or just
Yes.
the West?
in the
Okay.
entire league. So that's something to look out for. I mean, when you're playing bad teams, it's easier to win. But yeah, the Suns play 2 games against Boston, Cleveland, OKC, Clippers, Denver, and Timberwolves still. Which winning those the Thunder, Clippers, Nuggets, and Timberwolves games, those are big because you're sitting at 5 or 6 right now, and those are the teams you need to beat to get up to the 2 or 3 seed.
Yeah, Michael, any other thoughts? I wanted to touch on the 1 through 4 race really quick afterwards, though.
Nothing too specific. I just think that the Lakers, yeah, they're old. I don't know. Again, they're another team that also has a really difficult schedule.
I think at this point the Warriors might be older than the Lakers. I think the old stigma was more when like Carmelo and Russ were still there.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, the Lakers have
it's
LeBron.
really just LeBron at this point that's old.
Yeah.
But other than that, they're pretty young.
I just think the Warriors, I mean, I think they're just going to pull something. They're just going to somehow make a way into their playoffs, whether it be like 7th seed, 8th seed. I don't think they're going to be a great team, but just generally they're going to have somewhat. Stephen Curry's going to do his thing.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. But like I said, I wanted to touch on the 1 through 4 race really quick. Those teams only separated by 2.5, but the Clippers have been sliding a little bit as of late. The Thunder are on a 5-game win streak currently. The Nuggets are on a 3-game, and the Timberwolves avenged their blowout loss. Or I guess it wasn't a blowout by the end, but the loss to the Bucks. Colin, do you have any thoughts on that on the 1 through 4?
Yeah, I think it's going to stay relatively the same. We could see the Clippers drop, but before this little rough stretch, they had been playing so great. And when all those guys click, they're going to be great in the regular season. Now it's the playoffs that I worry about with a team full of guys like Paul George and James Harden.
Not to mention injuries with those type of players.
And the age and how far can they make it? Can they play all the way till June and play the same level they're playing at right now? We'll see about that. But I think as far as the regular season goes, they'll be fine. I think Denver could definitely jump up. I mean, it'll be hard with teams like the Thunder. That's why I see it so hard to see any of these teams rearranging, because I don't think the Clippers are going to end up with a better record than the Nuggets, and I don't think the Nuggets are going to jump past OKC or Minnesota because they've been playing so solid. I think we could obviously 1 or 2 shift because they have the same record, but just the top 4 teams are just so solid all around. Now, the playoffs is where it gets interesting once again with how young teams like the Thunder and the Timberwolves are, and lack of playoff experience could come into play, whereas the Nuggets just won it all, and they're playing at arguably
good
the
enough
same
level to where you can make an argument for them.
Yeah, to where it's there. Once they get into the playoffs, they're probably going to be my pick out of the West, just because Thunder are way too young. Even though they added Gordon Hayward, they have no playoff experience. And the Timberwolves, I don't know. I do think they're going to make it to the Western Conference Finals, but I just have a bad feeling. I just don't see them going to the finals.
I think Ant is just too inconsistent.
Yeah.
Like, he'll have this game where he goes out there and shoots 1 for 17 every once in a while, where it's like, man, what's going on with you? Ryan, I know you had some thoughts about this as well.
I would say I think the start of the year I was kind of hard on the Thunder. Just like, I was like, oh, this seems too young. Then I mean, look at it. I mean, if you look at the roster, they only have 2 guys that over the age of 30.
I mean, you could also make a reasonable argument that the only reason the Thunder weren't like a 5 or a 6 seed last year was just because Chet was out the entire first year.
Yeah.
Like, you could make a reasonable argument that they would have been a top 4 seed last year, because I want to say they were above 500 without him.
I think their oldest guy right now is 33, and that's Gordon Hayward.
Yeah, and even then, Gordon Hayward is just a depth piece for them, pretty much.
So, then I think Chet Holmgren's playing at a like rookie of the year level.
I mean, obviously, I think Wemby's gonna come away with it just because he's a physical
Can't be
specimen.
anyone else.
Yeah,
he's an alien.
Playing at Shea's the second leading scorer.
I would say Shea's my MVP as of right now, but I think it's gonna probably go to Jokic most likely.
Right now, Shea is the second leading scorer, only behind Luka. So, yeah. And then, did anyone see that Kendrick Perkins compared Anthony Edwards to Michael Jordan?
With all due respect,
that's his dad.
With all due respect, I don't listen to much Kendrick Perkins says.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, that's not the worst take of all time. There's been a lot worse out of his mouth, but I don't really take much he says seriously.
I feel like he's one of those guys who kind of just says stuff just to get a reaction.
Honestly, that's what ESPN has honestly come to these days, for the most part. Like, hiring Shannon Sharp to be another one of those guys. But does anyone have any other thoughts, or maybe just a quick little Eastern Conference, like maybe a hot take or two? Boston is up by a country mile over Cleveland, who's in the 2 spot right now.
Boston's winning it all this year.
I saw that
100%.
That fun fact that the 1 through 8 seeds are separated by less games in the West than the 1 and 2 seeds are in the East. So the Celtics are definitely running away with it for the East, and Cleveland currently sitting at the 2nd seed, and I see this as definitely a team that could flame out come playoffs. And we'll still see if the Bucks can completely figure it out.
Weird as it sounds, the Bucks have actually done a decent job competing with the Celtics in both of the matchups. Obviously, they blew them out by 50 in one. I mean, Boston made the argument that it was a back-to-back scenario, but they also hung right with them when they played in Boston the first time. I want to say they still face off 2 more times this year. So it'll be interesting to see how those two go out. I think a lot of people think the Bucks are probably going to overtake the Cavs. I'm not so sure about that, but
I think Indiana could get out of the play-in.
I think they're literally tied with Miami right now. Like, I think Philadelphia is going to slide down further a little bit too.
Yeah,
They've
no Embiid.
Yeah, I mean they're going to slide
hard to
until
beat
it
those
comes
better
back.
teams.
Yeah. They're an 8 to 10 seed in my opinion without Embiid and the current position. Like the Bucks dispatched them the other day. There was no other way of
The
putting it.
76ers,
Is
it
Embiid
comes.
coming back at all this year?
He's looking at a late March, early April, I think is what the timeline's looking like. But
That sucks.
yeah,
Why
I
is
know.
he on
Because
your
my
fantasy
fantasy
team?
playoffs
Yeah,
will be done
he's
by
my
then.
first pick, dude.
I think Orlando could be a sleeper team in the East.
Well, they got to make it out of the play-in first.
Yeah,
I mean,
sure.
they're half a game out right now, but they also started the year 10-2 or something like
They
that.
almost lost to the Pistons the other night.
So did the Knicks last night too. They were one controversial
I
call
know.
away from blowing that
That
game.
was crazy. They should have lost that game.
Detroit's been playing kind of well lately. I'm not gonna lie. They're starting to turn it around. It's not showing in the win-loss column, but they've been playing decent ball as of late. They'll be in games against decent teams at the end, which is
I
Only
just
on a
think it's
6-game
funny
losing
that
streak.
Kyle Kuzma was talking trash about the Pistons earlier in the season, and now his team only has one more win.
He said,
than
"Don't
the
be that
Pistons.
team."
He said, at this point, it's don't be that team, and now he is.
You
he
are
is that team. They lost to the Pistons by 20 at one
Yeah.
point too.
You
I
are
think
the best player on that team. Congratulations.
Kyle Kuzma being your best player is just stinky.
yeah, it really is.
He's not bad. He's not bad.
I'm not saying that, but I don't want
He's
him as
not
my
bad.
best player.
Past Laker legend.
As a
He won a
golf
chip,
leg-
yeah.
He did win a chip.
As a golf legend Berdogi would say, if you know who that is, he's not bad. He's just inconsistent.
Yeah.
Wow, Washington really has
Yeah, they're
two
tragic.
two champions on their team, Jordan Poole and Kuzma.
Yeah, but those guys were
Yeah,
They got the playoff
They didn't do
experience.
much.
third, fourth options on those teams.
they did not do much.
Well, we have a great outlook for the rest of the year for sure on the NBA, but I want to move over to some more basketball. I titled this little last topic, Fate of the Universe on the Line. I'm sure you guys probably have heard that line before with the I want Iguodala comment from Max Kellerman on First Take one day. But I want to know who you guys, with the fate of the universe on the line, would have taking a last-second three to win you the NBA Finals, or say the Martians have the death beam pointed at Earth and you got to hit it. Ryan, I'll start with you.
Number 1, Steph Curry.
I think that's ironic just because he's literally the opposite of what Kellerman said, where it was Iguodala or Curry, and he said Iguodala. So, do you have any reasoning?
Greatest shooter.
Not in the clutch,
NBA's ever
though.
seen.
Steph's not the greatest clutch shooter of all time, though.
Though this
People
year he has the most clutch
People
points.
say he's
So
the greatest shooter of all time.
Oh, I agree with that
He
100%.
is.
But you don't see him necessarily turn that up come playoff time usually. Colin?
I am gonna go with the king, LeBron James. I think if the stakes are that high, there's nobody I want but LeBron James, who's faced so much pressure before. He's faced the Monstars 2 years in a row in the finals. He's dealt with pretty high stakes.
You mean 4 years in a row, right?
Yeah, well, 2 years where they were really it was like, come on now. The 2 years before that, it was more of a fair matchup. Well, I guess 2015 not, but we can get into that at a later date.
Yeah.
But I don't know. The narrative that LeBron's not clutch, which I feel like is kind of dead nowadays, but used to be really
He has
lively.
the most clutch playoff points.
There's a 10-minute highlight reel of LeBron just hitting clutch shots.
I
in the
don't
playoffs.
understand that. I mean, I understand that they've lost playoff games, obviously, with him, but a lot of those times it's not because of him. It's because the rest of the team just isn't set up for success.
LeBron has 3 game-winning playoff shots that I can think of just off the top of my head. 2015 versus the Bulls in the second round. 2018 versus the Pacers in the first round.
In 2018 against the Raptors.
That one too. And then 2009 versus the Magic. He hit a 35-foot catch and
It was
shoot
off a
jumper.
screen, right?
Yeah. That's an iconic
That one in
shot.
Toronto was crazy.
Yeah.
falling out of bounds on
one hand,
Jay-Z.
one hand on the ball. But I think LeBron is an underrated clutch performer, and I'm giving that man the ball personally if the aliens come down, and he's going to hit the shot.
I also that one shot against the Wizards. I know it was a regular season game where he was falling away. That's another great example for sure.
Never mind.
Sorry, Colin. Finish your thought.
I was just going to say, after traveling, which wasn't called, and missing the layup in that game, that would have won them the game versus the Wizards, the one you're talking about.
Yeah.
He traveled. It wasn't called. Then missed the layup. John Wall hit a couple free throws to put the Wizards up, and then that's when LeBron hit the shot. So
it almost reminds me of like the Aaron Rodgers Hail Mary, where it's like he just chucked it up after like a missed or like a phantom face mask call.
I went back and forth here. I think I'm gonna go with Michael Jordan. I think it's him and LeBron as like, who do you want with the ball? I just think that he's always open. He's like LeBron. He's always open, no matter what shot he's taking. I mean, maybe a three. That might be his weakness, I will say. But I feel like if you're getting a fadeaway, a dunk in the paint, Michael Jordan is always open, no matter who's guarding him.
Yeah, I mean, even if someone's draped on him, he's still open enough to put up a shot. And if you rub him the wrong way, like you say some obscure statement to him about like talking trash and whatnot, like that man, it's just almost a guarantee that he hits it on you. Michael?
I'm actually going to go with Ray Allen.
Back out to Allen, his three-pointer.
one of the most clutch shots in NBA history, yeah.
Tie game with 5 seconds remaining.
Yeah. That's the first thing that came to my mind ultimately with him. Generally, like throughout his career, he was a really good three-point shooter, and I just feel like he's just more. I guess I don't think he was definitely obscure back then, but now he's like one of those people you kind of forget about. But.
I, for one, do not forget about Ray Allen. I regard him as either the second or third best shooter of all time. I think him and Reggie Miller are in about the same tier there.
Yeah.
When you look at like legendary shooters.
I mean, before Steph Curry, Ray Allen was pretty much unanimously regarded as the best shooter of all time.
I mean, and Ray Allen actually had crazy talent back in the day. He was in a dunk contest back when he was with the Bucks.
Yeah. Bucks.
And then he kind of transitioned more into just a straight three-point shooter once he reached his twilight with the Heat and those later years with Boston.
His shot was wonky. That was like a beam.
It was a two-motion shot.
It was he would like go up above his head almost, and
he would just beam it in there.
And can we also mention that shot he had against the Spurs in that finals, that was about as perfect of a swish as you could ever see.
It's beautiful.
It's like that thing hit the net and just the net like.
And the way he was able to get his feet behind the line, watching in slow motion is like, if that was me, I would have probably not caught the ball in the first place. I probably would have stepped out of bounds and then hit the backboard or something.
Yeah, like, I second that myself. Either that or I would have shot it either severely short or severely long, like air ball style.
No, that's definitely a good pick because under that much pressure, it's so easy to make one fatal mistake. And he was, like you said, absolutely perfect swish, feet behind the line, everything.
Alex?
I had two. I had one real NBA player and then one fictional basketball player.
Oh
but
my gosh,
I
know what he's gonna.
No, you don't. I know you don't know what I'm gonna say.
Is it what's his name from Hoosiers? Jimmy, I think.
We will see. We will see. So, Fate of the Universe, my real player, I'm gonna go with Derek Fisher. I think he's one of the most underrated clutch players of all time. And I think he was severely overlooked on the Lakers because of Kobe and Shaq and all of those guys. But my second death beam pointed to earth, I'm going to go with Steve Urkel.
Okay, that is not what I thought you were going to say.
He was his high school team's equipment manager until they were only down to 4 healthy players. Down 22 points with 7 minutes left in the game. He displayed amazing court vision, beautiful shot. I mean, he just took over. It was Steve Urkel takeover. I could not see this argument going any other way than Steve Urkel.
I thought you were going to say Chris Moves, my career player.
Yeah, I was
He's
thinking
definitely
of
up there with with the greatest.
And then
of all
the
time.
Splash song would play. It would be Splash.
I was also thinking of Jesus Shuttlesworth, who is Ray Allen.
I was thinking
in a movie.
Yeah.
I was thinking of potentially Uncle Drew as well.
Oh yeah,
Uncle Drew.
What was that one movie of the kid who?
Thunderstruck?
Oh yeah, he
no,
took
but
Kevin
there was
Durant's
that
powers.
one. There was one where it was like a Disney Channel movie, and he was Irish.
Is that like Mike? I have no idea.
Oh, I know what movie you're talking. I don't know what the name of that is.
What? Is it Luck of the Irish? I'm looking
might
this
be.
up.
I have no idea.
By the way, a little footnote: Derek Fisher, born and raised in Little Rock, Arkansas. So
Shout out.
there's a court at University of Arkansas, Little Rock, named after Derek Fisher, and I've played on it. Pretty cool.
Woo.
That's awesome.
Pigs again.
But
It's not that school.
I guess
though.
I'll share mine really quick while
Is it-
Alex
it's
is
what?
That's not that school.
No,
Alex is doing his
Yeah, no, it's
research
not.
over there. But
Obviously.
I'm gonna go
I'm
with
focused on something else.
I'm gonna go with someone who I've seen hit clutch shots time and time again. I watch these YouTube videos called Collapse by SB Nation, and I've seen Robert Ory just end teams, dynasties, and everything for
Yeah.
years. So I'm gonna
Yeah.
have to go with Big Shot Bob in this situation. He has 7 rings, one of the highest totals in the NBA. And it feels like every time I watch one of those, it's like, well, they did a great job stopping this guy, but then the ball bounced to Big Shot Bob and he ended their season. So, like, I'm going to have to go with him just because he's not necessarily the most notable player for anything else he did besides his clutch time shooting, but his clutch time shooting, he was not missing that shot if he got it. If he had a shot. So, if the fate of the universe was on the line, the Martians had the death beam pointed at Earth, and someone's got to hit it, I want Robert Ory.
no.
That's another Lakers legend.
No, like,
Yeah, I
Lakers
thought you would.
legend.
I thought you would mention him. I'm not gonna lie. I thought he
I
was gonna
had
be
to go
brought
with
up.
D
like,
Fish.
if the fate of the universe, I would pick. Is that steak? I would pick Kevin Durant.
Kevin Durant's another
He
good
was
one
up
No,
there
I
too.
for
just
me.
think he doesn't get enough credit. Like, for like,
That pull-up three-pointer is
I
unstoppable.
think he's one of the most, like one of the best scorers of all time.
I think he could be definitely in the argument because I think scoring these days is harder than or easier than it used to be. Like when Kevin Durant put up 30 points in 2014, that's a lot different than
Yeah,
Luka putting up like 32, 33
I
now in
think-
2024.
I would say one of my favorite parts of his career was like the 2017 finals against. It was like the Warriors were up by 3 in Cleveland, and
Don't remind
Durant
me.
Yeah, I don't want to hear about this either.
Stop.
I was a Cavs fan in those series
Yeah,
every
me
year.
too.
really,
I have relatives that live in Ohio, so they
Oh.
were nice enough to get me
Yeah.
a Cavs 2016 championship shirt. I wore that thing all the way till freshman year of college.
I had
And
that
then a
same
year
shirt,
later,
man.
Durant-
It had like the trophy on it.
Yeah, I had the same shirt,
and a year
man.
later Durant did it again, same shot.
I know.
Kevin Durant's villain arc is one of the. It's worse than Anakin Skywalker's.
Honestly,
And it-
he
if I had
went
to
from
guess.
love to hated in
And it
like
never
one day.
really
Off
ended.
season.
No,
Like how LeBron just went back to the Cavs and yay.
it's like oh he saved himself almost
Yeah, I
from
just-
like true.
Kevin
Yeah,
Durant
I
just
think
has been
Durant-
trying to
no, I
form
think
new
Durant,
super
like
teams.
him, I think everyone loved him on the Thunder, but I feel like when he went to the Warriors, I don't know. I feel like
Well, in my opinion, that was just a cowardly move.
Yeah.
It's like,
Cupcake.
yeah, I mean, literally, Russ posted on his Instagram that day just to plate of cupcakes.
I know, I
So
think
I
this-
actually had a shirt that said Cupcake Durant
I
on it
think
because
the
I was
fact
also
that-
I was a Russ fan back
yeah,
in the day.
I'm
Yeah.
a Warriors fan. I think Kevin Durant was the reason why. 'Cause-
You're a Warriors fan because of Kevin Durant?
no, because I was. It's weird because it seemed like every time where Durant, I've always loved Kevin Durant. Like every time where he went, like I don't know, like I was like a Thunder fan growing up. Then I don't know, just
So then you became a Warriors fan, then a Nets fan, and now a Suns fan?
well, I'm weird.
Kevin Durant is also a good shout, though, for sure, in all seriousness, because that shot he had against the Bucks when he had literally no legs left, like, and he was able to will that shot into the basket. I mean, obviously, he airballed the one in overtime, but that's literally, like, that was...
Yeah.
He's like a size 87 shoe, and
Yeah,
Couldn't get his
I
foot
mean,
behind him.
if he was size 12 like me or whatever, he would have been in the NBA Finals.
dude, his feet are the size of smart cars. Like, how can you even get that thing behind the line from half?
Yeah, that's a good question.
One more player I wanted to throw out there, Jokic, man. He can hit some crazy shots. I know Alex remembers the Western Conference Finals last year, man. Doesn't matter. 23.9 seconds of great defense, and Jokic is like,
Yeah.
goes in.
Yep.
And he hit the game winner versus the
He's
Warriors
so
about a month ago.
nonchalant about
Exactly.
everything too, which is just it's honestly like almost funny for me to watch like how little he cares.
He just doesn't feel the pressure. He's like, oh, the aliens are coming. I just want to ride my horses. Makes the shot.
Literally, it's like
We're
man
back.
could not care less
Anthony
about
Davis did
basketball.
that to him, though, like
Yeah.
2 years prior.
2020, yeah.
Yeah, so I understood. I understood it was their time.
Yeah. It's just sad.
And was I mad about it? Yes. You know, I was
Obviously.
more mad about the sweep than anything.
The fact that
just
the
like-
Lakers were in all those games, too.
Yeah.
I thought
yeah.
it was crazy. Brian Windhorst actually called it like the greatest sweep of all time.
Yeah.
the most disgusting sweep of all time. That just that angered me for weeks.
That could have easily been a 6 or 7 game series.
Because I'm watching the finals and I'm like, this sucks.
It wasn't.
It was a lackluster finals.
Yeah.
Well, if
this
the
sucks.
Bucks were there, it would have been a little better. Or if Boston was there, it's like
That would've been great.
I don't know. Miami's just such a weird team, and I feel like Heat culture has become more of a brand than anything. I was talking about this with my friends yesterday.
Now that they put it on a jersey.
Yeah, it's like they're just
You're
they're
doing too much.
monetizing it
You're
at this
doing
point.
too much. It was cool when it was just a thing people said. Now you got it on a jersey. You're making $100 off it for a pop.
I think that's ridiculous.
I would also like to formally apologize to the Oklahoma City Thunder because every week I come on this show and I just tell them,
You
hey.
stink.
Yeah, well, it's not you stink. It's that they're not making it anywhere.
And
But
they
I
keep
mean-
proving you wrong.
They just keep winning. They just keep winning, dude. And I can't deny it any longer. Do I think they're making the Western Conference Finals? No.
Nope.
No, I don't. But do I think they'll go 7 games in the semis? Sure.
Maybe.
Sure.
I was hard on the Thunder.
You were? Well, I think
I was.
everyone's starting to change their tune on them now that they're realizing they're already at 40 wins and we're not even at 60
I don't
games
know.
yet.
I'm still not convinced.
Yeah, I think
I agree with
Still
Alex.
not convinced.
Yeah, I think Minnesota plays at home tonight in San Antonio, and the Thunder hosts Houston. So whoever wins tonight
San Antonio is the lowest team in the West right now as of this
and then whoever loses,
recording, I guess.
whoever wins takes full position of first place in the West.
Yeah, I mean, obviously there's some great games on tonight. I guess, Ryan, we'll start with you. Final thoughts. We're going to jump into those really quick if that's what you wanted to be your final thought.
I'd say Steve Kerr signed a 2-year, $53 million contract with the Warriors, which makes him the highest paid coach ever.
Yeah, I mean, him and Steph Steels also line up now, so they could potentially depart at the same time, and that's when the Warriors will finally call it quits on the Steph Curry, Steve Kerr era and just fully go into their rebuild, which I think is sooner rather than later. Colin?
Yeah, so we got Bucks Hornets tonight. Last time the Bucks and Hornets played, it was also my final thought, and I called it an easy win. It wasn't. The Hornets won that game.
They did win
So-
that game.
Wait, Bucks Hornets? No, they didn't.
The Hornets beat the Bucks, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
No, they didn't. It was who was it? It was someone else.
It was the Grizzlies.
Yeah, it was the Grizzlies.
Yes, it was the Grizzlies.
All right, well-
I was like, I knew it wasn't the
Because they
Hornets.
didn't have Jaren Jackson. Or wait,
They didn't have
No,
anybody.
he didn't.
He didn't play either.
Vince Williams had and Gigi Jackson had like
They
28
had a
points.
full G League
My
squad.
mistake,
Those are
but at
bad
at this point in the season, the Hornets and Grizzlies are two interchangeable teams. They should both be pretty easy wins. But let's hope this
Should
one's
be.
an easy win tonight for the Bucks, and they can keep their little momentum they got here going.
Yeah, they had 2 great wins over the weekend.
I just wanted to talk about the new Fanatics baseball uniforms.
Terrible.
Oh my goodness! Like they look like a Chinese knockoff. To be clear,
I've heard bad things
Well,
about them.
DHgate made them.
Yeah.
Team of the
Actually,
jerseys.
honestly, at this point, DHgate might make better jerseys. Michael?
Sure. Hope the women's basketball team is able to win on Friday, and I'm excited for the NFL Combine. I'm sure it'll be interesting.
Yeah, it should be a good one for sure. Obviously, the Combine will be really interesting. I saw that Caleb was not throwing at the Combine, though. You
Yeah,
have to think that's probably reserved for Pro Day.
Yeah, neither him nor Jaden Daniels.
Good to know as we look forward towards the draft and whether the Bears keep or trade their pick. Alex?
The Luck of the Irish is a movie about a teenager who must battle for a gold charm to keep his family from being controlled by an evil leprechaun. However, when he did have that gold charm, he was playing like Luka Doncic. This guy could not miss. He was diving for a ball out of bounds, and he got Mahomie. He was
There was
diving
a little
for it.
Mahomie on that one.
Yeah, there was a little Mahomie, and he just launches it to the other end of the court. Just a bucket. That's a bucket.
I guess my final thought will also be revolving around the Bucks. Hopefully they continue their little hot streak that they've been on, their 2-game win streak. Dame's looked a lot better in the last 2 games. I like that he's being more of a facilitator, especially for sure. But that'll do it for our Tuesday Hawk Talk here on 91.7 The Edge, WSUW Whitewater. We have a lot of great programming coming up this week, obviously with the basketball game on Friday night, so make sure to tune into that. Also, 2 more days of Hawk Talk this week. Sam Strash will be hopping on Thursday's show as Nolan hosted Monday's show. Carson obviously hosts tomorrow, so make sure to tune in for those. And we will see you again next week with another great episode here on 91.7.